So apparently this door leads to a basement. I had no idea that we had a basement. Let's see what it's like. Never mind, I'm good. Alright, so this week is a really important topic. We're talking about parents. Now, I want to start by saying that everyone watching this has a different situation with your parents. Some of you have two parents living at home. Some of you have one parent living at home. Some of you have a parent that's living at home that's maybe not related to you by blood. And I'm saying this because today's topic is a broad-reaching topic, right? It's talking about one thing, but this thing is very different for everyone. So I just want you to keep that in mind as we go throughout this devotional. So my parents' names are Jeff and Tina. Here they are with me. This is when I graduated from high school. Aww. And when I was in 8th grade, my parents got divorced. And for the next 4 years of high school and then same in college, when I was home, I lived with each parent half the time. And my parents were very, very different. So my dad disciplined me differently than my mom disciplined me, and they cooked differently, and they cleaned differently, and they expected very different things from me. And so what that taught me is that I needed to have a different, mindset with each of my parents. But the thing was, I loved them both very much. And all that to say is that if my situation with both of my parents can be so different, that it's obvious that maybe your situation with your parents is very different from mine. So today, I'm not going to talk about specifics. I'm going to talk about the broad overall truths that the gospel and the Bible as a whole tells us about parents. So in Ephesians 6:1-3, Paul says, "Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with a promise, so that it may go well with you and that you may enjoy long life on the earth." Now there's two things about this verse that I want to point out. First, what does it mean to obey your parents? And second, the benefits of obeying and honoring your parents. So first, Paul says that we must obey our parents in the Lord, right? So what does this mean, in the Lord? It means that we obey our parents with the respect and honor that is expected of us on a spiritual level, right? Which basically means that we obey our parents in wisdom, knowing that they are put there by God, right? They're put in that situation. God made our parents to be our parents. So I hope you also know that, though, your parents are just as much broken people as we are. Your parents are not perfect, and they make mistakes sometimes, and they're maybe not going to always be right. That doesn't mean that we don't respect and honor them, because that's what God calls us to do. So this doesn't also mean that your parents don't need to respect you, right? Just as you respect your parents should respect you. You deserve respect and love from your parents as well. And if you feel like your parents are not doing this well, that's something that you need to sit down and talk to them. Oh, almost had a visitor. Alright, so anyway, the second point is the promise of the benefit that Paul talks about. The original verse he's referencing is actually one of the 10 Commandments, and it's Exodus 20:12, which says, "Honor your father and your mother, so that you may live long in the land the Lord has given you." The benefit of honoring and obeying your parents is that it will help you live a longer and happier life. And that may sound strange at first, but the reasoning behind it, at least what I interpret the reasoning behind it to be, is that your parents have lived, right, a life. Right, they know, they've experienced a lot of things that you've experienced. And it may not seem like it, but your parents were your age at some point. And they may not seem like they relate, but I'm sure at one time they did. Your parents know through trial and error the things that were good and bad for them. And so they're watching out for you to make sure that either you don't make the same mistakes that they did, or that you do a lot of the great things that they did also. Your parents have a lot of wisdom that comes from time living on this earth. And trust me, like I said, they're not always right. Things change, and maybe sometimes need to have conversations with them about how things have changed. But it doesn't mean that they don't have a lot of wisdom and experience on this earth. And so, like Paul says, having that obeyment of your parents means that you will learn from them, right? So think about things like skills like cooking or cleaning, or fishing or hunting or academic skills. Like, your parents are a treasure trove of knowledge and skills that you can learn from. And that is the same for like the hard parts of life too, right? They've probably dealt with heartbreak, and they've probably dealt with sadness and loss and suffering. And so I would really encourage you to sit down and have a conversation with your parents and ask them questions about stuff that maybe you have questions about as well. So your 2 takeaways for today are this. Obeying your parents means to respect them and trust that they're making good decisions for you, but also to make sure that they know how to love you best through maybe a sit-down conversation. The other takeaway is that your parents are a great resource for you to learn from and will help you in life if you do obey them and learn from them. So your journal entry for today is to write down the ways in which you feel like you obey your parents well, and then the ways that you feel like you could obey your parents better. And also I'd encourage you maybe to do something nice for your parents this week, whether that means doing something without them asking, or making them a meal, or anything. I'd really encourage you to do that this week. The challenge is in the description. It's to make something artistic, whether that's painting or drawing or whatever that looks like for you this week. Send me a picture. That's it for today. Great seeing you guys. See you next week.
Do what you want, I'll pull my punches, say what you want,